everybody? Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity, and as you already know, big blues lover here, and I love turning you on to blues artists that you may not have heard of. This artist I'm introducing you to has been around for a while. She's got something like this is her 18th album coming out, and she is magnificent. I think you're really going to like her. She's got a couple of heavy hitters on this album by the name of Sue Foley and some guy named Joe Bonamassa. You know, I'm a big fan of his, both of them actually. And so this album is entitled Back for Me, and the artist's name is Janiva Mangess, and she is amazing. You're really going to like her work if you haven't already been turned on to her. And we have a delightful chat about this album, a little bit about her life. She's got a very compelling story that is, I guess you would say, the perfect backdrop for the blues. But she's a warrior. She's more than a conqueror. She is an amazing woman. She has a book. You can catch her, you can buy it at her website, janivamangess.com. And I would recommend getting it. I haven't read it yet, but just knowing her story, having read about it, I know it's a good book. I'll be getting a copy as well. I encourage you to do the same. And so if you don't mind, would you go ahead and hit like and subscribe if you aren't already a Boomerocity subscriber? Won't cost you a dime. It just helps us out tremendously. So please do that while you're thinking of it. And also share this interview with your blues loving friends or female artist fans. You may want to turn them on to Janiva. And I just really would appreciate it if you did that. So without any further ado, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Until next time, take care. Hello, Janiva.
Uh,
Can you hear me?
hello? Yes, I got you now. Sorry
All
about the
right. No
retarding.
problem.
How are you, Randy, right?
That is correct. Thank you.
See
Where
if
are
I
you
can.
clicking in from?
From home. I'm in my office in the Los Angeles area, and it's beautiful, sunny Southern California.
All right. How,
Yeah.
got to ask you, I know you've been asked a million times, but did the fires get close to you at all?
Yeah. And we did
Ooh.
not have to evacuate. There's not one person in Los Angeles that was not affected
Mm-hmm.
by absolutely unprecedented. Um, it's just disaster. It was horrible. It was
Yeah.
really, really horrible. And I, you know, everyone in Los Angeles has been affected by the fires. Everyone. There's not a person here that's unaffected by what has gone on.
Mm-hmm.
And some much more than others. I have a lot of friends whose homes, burned right, everything that they have burned to the ground,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and
Wow.
it's pretty harsh. It's pretty horrible.
Yep.
And I have on too much makeup. How about that?
Hey, I I thought you looked fine. So
Thank
no
you.
problem.
Get a little of this off of here. Hang on. Let me go.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. I've been a fan of yours for a while, and I don't know why we haven't spoken before, but I'm glad we finally have. I'm a blues lover. I'm not a blues expert, but I'm a blues lover. So I know a lot, but not anywhere near enough about the blues. But every time I get to talk to a blues artist, I feel like I gain a lot more knowledge and even more appreciation of the genre. So, thank you for taking the time. Like I said, I'm a big fan of your work. I love this new album.
Thank you.
Your last album, man. The song I really liked a lot on that one was "Right Here." It was a wonderful song, wonderful. What's the story behind that song? We'll get on to the new album here in a moment, but I'm just curious about that song. What's the story behind it?
That song was co-written with some friends in Australia. Um, there we go. Now I can see. Some friends in Australia who are wildly talented, beautiful, beautiful writers and dear friends. that my producer Dave Darling had introduced me to several years ago. And
Mhm.
um, it's about really being someone's person. Like if
Mhm.
you, the lyric is liter, I mean, it really tells the story. If you need to tell me something, I'd never make you wrong. I'm not going to judge you, you know,
Mhm.
whatever it is, I'm going to stay right here.
Mhm.
I'm going to stay right here. And if we have great fortune, in my experience in life, we can have an experience like that with another human being where
Mhm.
they're just sitting there heart to heart with us and not in any kind of judgment of what we're saying or possibly what we've done. And
Mhm.
what a huge, huge gift that is. I'll stay right here. I'll stay right here.
We need a lot more of that, don't we?
I believe that. I do
Yeah.
believe that. I'm glad you like the song.
Yeah, I loved it.
Thank,
Absolutely loved it. And I love this new album. Wow.
thank
Tell
you.
me this, tell me about this album. How long did it take you to make it?
That's a good question. Not that long. It came pretty easily. The so much of the work often happens in what we consider pre-production.
Mhm.
So searching out for the songs, finding the songs. You know, I've long believed and said it a lot that songs are like snapshots. They're like a Polaroid in
Mhm.
time, Polaroid in a moment. And so this new album, Back for Me, is no exception to that. They're Polaroids. So some of the tunes, a couple of the tunes I've been carrying around in my mind for a long time. The title track is one of them. The first time I ever heard that song was many, many, many years ago. And it's just, written by a young fella by the name of Casey Hurt. Brilliant
Mhm.
artist, brilliant writer. And I just love the song. I think it's a devastating ballad. And then uh, another one I've been carrying around for a really super long time is a track written by Tracy Nelson called Down
Mhm.
So Low.
Mhm.
And um, you know, it's uh it's about collecting the material and then sorting through it to find what are going to be the contenders. We
Mhm.
usually start with a collection of more songs than actually end up getting recorded.
Right. Yeah. Often the
And then
case.
it's, yes, yeah. And then it's a matter of sorting it out.
Mhm. But do you find it hard to do that? Because I know sometimes there's just so many good songs to pick from, and so many that can mean so much to an artist, or they feel so strongly about, and you just have so much bandwidth to put on an album, CD, or whatever. Even if it's just all going to be online, you still got to make choices, right? So, is that a hard process for you, or are you pretty you have a clear cut idea of what you want as you go through them?
It's a pretty hard process for me. And I have a pretty clear-cut idea. And I mean, it's both of those things. In other words, it's
Yeah.
not A, B, it's not black or white. It's really both. And then it is a matter of I consider myself in a very privileged position to
Hmm.
have a great relationship with my producer, who happens to be somebody that I really trust.
Hmm.
Uh, and I trust his creativity, and I really trust his instinctive side, the parts of his creative instincts.
Hmm.
Um, and so we bounce stuff off each other, and sometimes there's a little pushback. No, I don't agree with you. I didn't, da 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 da. And it's a beautiful process, but I won't call it easy.
Yeah,
I won't call it easy. Not at
I
all.
could see that.
Yeah.
How was this album different? I mean, you've come out with what is this your 11th album, 10th album? How many?
17.
Holy crap. Ah, okay. All right,
What?
my bad.
What's
All
wrong
right.
with her? She won't
I'm in
quit.
I'm in trouble with you now. So
No, no. There's a lot out there, man. There's
yeah,
a lot of art
there
out
is.
there.
There sure is. You're very prolific. What was different about putting this album together than any of the others you put out as a solo artist, or any others that you may have contributed to for other artists?
I do feel like it's a continuum. Let's start there. There is a I don't know, I can't remember what the word is right now, but it is a I've always been an artist who never wanted to make the same record twice. Some people can do that. Some people can make the same or similar records again and again and again. And my hat is off to them. There are artists that have made entire the arc of their entire careers have been doing that, and it's beautiful. Who am I thinking of? I'm thinking of Bobby Blue Bland. I'm
Hmm.
thinking
Hmm.
of BB King, with the exception of a little bit of push the push the perimeters out there with B. um
Hmm.
but I mean, sonically it's different. The records are different, obviously, sonically, and different choice of songs and so on and so forth. But and that's been a beautiful thing, and I love that. I love all of Bobby Blue Bland's stuff. I love all of B's stuff that he was able to record over the course of his entire life.
Hmm.
Amazing. I've been an artist that's needed to sort of switch up, push the envelope a lot more, I guess, um, over the course of my career. So this album um, is revisiting. First of all, I didn't co-write anything on this album. And I've been doing that for several records, including the
Hmm.
one that you mentioned that came out in 2022. That album's titled Hard to Kill.
Hmm.
As it turns out I am. So so uh you know, um it is revisiting the idea of interpretive singing, interpreting other people's songs and material, stuff I'm not co-writing on. And the first several releases in my career, I was interpreting other people's material. I
Hmm.
wasn't crafting or participating in songwriting at all. So it sounds different. It's not the same record that I've ever made before. There is some beautiful original material on this, but it isn't anything that I co-wrote or
Hmm.
collaborated. So I'm really revisiting being an interpreter of other people's writing. There's a fair amount of B-sides, and I love B-sides, man. It's like
Hmm.
for the listeners or the viewers out there that are not familiar with what I mean by B-sides. 1,000 years ago, when we had records that were two songs on one platter of vinyl, they were called 45s,
Hmm.
with one song on side A and one song on side B. Um, Often there would be a hit record on what would be referred to as the A side, and then the B side would be a B side, you know. And there are some, I love B-sides, man. There are some incredible gems on what we refer to as a B-side. So there's
Hmm.
some B-sides on here that I really, really am, you know, um, really happy about. Holes is an original song written by uh, Julie. Hang on. Sorry. Really challenged here with not Julie Miller. God bless America. I can't see it. Written by well, there I go, being my age.
Mine too. So don't worry about it.
Horrible. It's horrible. And so that's an original song, but I didn't co-write on it. And then there's the B-side of something like The Same Love That Made Me Laugh, or
Hmm.
I Was Good to You, Baby, Hitting on Nothing,
Hmm.
which is Irma Thomas track, but it's a B-side, isn't it?
Yep. Yep.
You know.
Yep.
Great stuff, though. Great stuff.
Yeah. Were there any surprises when you were putting this album together? I mean, you've worked on so many. Does anything surprise you anymore when you work on a new album, especially this one?
First of all, let me just tell you, it surprised me to do another album. Let me start
Okay.
there. Because I was thinking privately, I can say it now, but privately in my own personal, like my cube here, I
Hmm.
was thinking, I was thinking, it's been great. And that's not an expression of wanting it to stop. Let me be very clear about that. But it is an expression of, I'm a lot of things, but I'm not a greedy person. And it's
Hmm.
really been a beautiful, my life in music has been such a blessing. It's been so wonderful. It doesn't mean that it hasn't had challenges. It doesn't mean that I haven't worked my tail off. All that kind of stuff is all true. It's all true. But it
Hmm.
has been incredibly beautiful, brought me an incredibly beautiful, joyous life. And, but I'm not a greedy person, and I thought, maybe you're just done. Maybe it's glue factory time.
Hardly, hardly. Come
I'm
on now.
kidding. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. And so, you know, I was wrong.
Hmm.
I didn't think I had the bandwidth to put another record out on my label. But my producer calls me up and he's like, "Hey, you want to do another record?" And I was like, "Oh man, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to be the artist and be the label."
Hmm.
It's a lot of work just to be the artist. It's a lot of work just to be the label, but then I'm being both. And
You're
it's
being
like,
both, yeah.
a lot of days where I'm in my office, this is my office, going, can somebody just shoot me? Do I really, do I have to do this again? Yeah. And so my producer calls me up and he goes, "Hey, you want to do another record?" And I was like, "Oh man." And he goes, "Blue Alon wants to do an album with you." And I went, "Again? Really?" And he was like, "Yeah, really." So he had to kind of like go, come on, you're not done yet. Come on over here. And so we had a little bit of that kind of conversation. And so I was surprised.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, if we can work it out, beauty. Let's do this thing. And so at that level, going from, well, it's probably glue factory time, kid. You're gonna just kind of like trot into the sunset over here, to like, nope, doing another record. Yep, yep. Uh, great, great, happy surprise for me.
Well, you had some, you also had a couple of heavy hitter guests on there, didn't you? I mean, you mentioned Sue earlier. She's a great person to chat with. I love Sue Foley. And
Yes.
some little guy probably nobody's ever heard of by the name of Joe Bonamassa, right? So,
Yeah.
Joe
Joe
who?
Bonamassa and I, let me just tell you, Joe B, as I refer to him, Joe B, and I have known each other a very long time since he was a young man and I was a
Uh-huh.
younger brunette. Let's put it that way. I was a brunette back in the day, in
Yeah.
case anybody was wondering what happened to her hair. Cool. Anyway, so Joe B and I have known each other a very long time. We used to live in the same neighborhood. I would walk to my post office 3 blocks. He had the same PO, where he had a PO box. Um, and he was still duking it out back in those days pretty hard.
Hmm.
And so we've known each other a long time. And that's lovely. So I called him up and I said, "Hey man, doing another record." He goes, "Ah, it's great." And I'm like, "Yeah, you want to come play on a track?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure." And that's how that is.
Wow.
So Sue Foley, who I've also known a very long time, Joe B, Joe Bonamassa, and Jesse Dayton, who happens to be a label mate at Blue Alon,
Hmm.
right? So there's some less than 6 degrees of separation going on there.
Right. Well, I'm a big Bonamassa fan. I've interviewed him a couple
Oh,
times. Last time I interviewed him was about a year ago. whoo, boy, he was ready for battle, man. I got him to talking about Rolling Stone magazine. It's like, tell me how you really feel, Joe. Yeah. So
Really, at the end of the day, what has he got to lose?
nothing.
He's
He,
beaten the system. He's beaten a certain amount of the archaic infrastructure of the system that was constantly, to me, it's so beautiful. Because he was in that clicking along on the conveyor belt
hmm
as a young person, in the system, in the business of music, and suffering at the hand of the naysayers.
hmm
At one point, couldn't get an agent. At one point, couldn't get, like, was having struggle and having gigs, couldn't get a record deal, couldn't just, it wasn't happening. And he kept trying and trying and trying and trying. And if nothing else, and he is wildly talented, doesn't
hmm
matter if you love him or can't stand him or in the middle. I don't care. He's incredibly persistent,
hmm
you know. Uh, and there is a saying that persistence alone is omnipotent.
hmm
It's on my wall right over there in my office. I have to remind myself. So he finally said, you know what? That's cool. You don't have to like me. You don't have to want me. You don't have to book me. You don't have to give me a record deal. How about I just go on over here? I'm going to do this myself. And I'll see you later.
It was
And
a
man,
brilliant move.
unbelievable. And that hasn't been like overnight,
Nope.
but that persistence, the engine that could, as we used to think of it when we were kids, right? The little engine that
hmm
could. Remember that children's storybook? And
hmm
he's done it. He
Yep.
has done it, you know?
And helped others in the process. That's what I like about him. He has done, during the pandemic, raising money to help others. That's when he got started about Rolling Stone magazine. I mean, he was carpet f bombing them and the whole 9 yards. But hey, it was none of it was untrue. He spoke the truth, and it was
Yeah.
and he didn't care, and that's what I love about the guy. He just says it how it is, and you know, and he helps others. That's the big thing. You don't see a lot of that in this business. You see some,
Yeah.
but he did it at the right level. Before
He's
I
all
forget,
about helping other people, and it is incredibly powerful and, to me, very important to speak our truth.
yep,
It
I agree.
just is, you know. I guess it sounds like Rolling Stone wasn't very supportive. I don't
No,
know
it
the
wasn't. They
deets.
weren't.
I don't know the
They
details on.
just hate his guts. They don't even talk about him. They wouldn't when he was trying to raise money and get the word out. They wouldn't even say one word about it, which really hacked them off. It wasn't about him. It was about trying to help other people. And Rolling Stone magazine didn't even want to do that. So, that it showed their true colors. Before I
Yeah.
forget, before I forget, I read in your when doing my research. I saw you used to live in Phoenix. I grew up in Phoenix. I'm in East Tennessee now, up in the Smoky Mountains near where I was born. But you were in Phoenix for a while. Tell me about that,
I
because
was in Phoenix for like 6 years.
really,
I lived
when was that?
about 80 to 86.
Ah, okay, all right.
Yeah.
I moved in 80, well, officially moved the beginning of 89, but I was there for about 20 years. So, and I don't even know the place now. I was out there for a class reunion a couple years ago, and almost 3 years ago now. I just couldn't believe how much it's changed. It's changed a lot there. But
Yeah, it's crazy. When I lived there, there were two freeways.
yeah, yeah, it's,
This one,
Black Canyon.
that one.
Yeah, north and south and east and west. And
Yeah.
my parents' first house was on one of those freeways between Bethany and Glendale on the east side, facing the freeway. I looked up the price of that house, which I think they paid like $15,000 for it when we first moved to Phoenix in '69. That
Wow.
house is like almost $380,000 now.
Yeah.
Crazy. And
Everything
I
has
don't think it's
changed.
changed much. Yeah, it has.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah,
has.
no, but I mean everything has changed. There's, you know, but I learned a lot living in Phoenix, I'll tell you what. I learned a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Phoenix is special to me too. What do you think the state of the blues is these days? I love what I'm seeing coming up and the people that are still doing well at it and stuff. But from your perspective, what do you think the state of the blues is today?
I think that, there's a lot of hope. There's a lot to hope for. There's a lot of tremendous talent um in blues today, especially, I mean, particularly contemporary blues. There's a tremendous amount of talent.
Hmm.
Um, and don't get me wrong, I love the old traditional, very traditional, what I, jokingly refer to as the old crusty guys. I love that stuff. I mean, I'm looking at a beautiful portrait of Memphis Minnie right across from
Mm,
me right here. And love Memphis Minnie, Kansas Joe McCoy, love the Robert Johnson stuff. Love, Wolf, early Muddy, all Muddy. Uh, you know, um you know, Tampa Red, all that stuff. I love that stuff. Um, and there's a lot in the contemporary world to hope for. A lot of
mhm,
younger artists that are coming through. Danielle Nicole. Now she's moved towards blues rock more, and
mhm,
that's cool. That's what's floating her boat. She loves it. She lives it. She's a brilliant artist, writer, vocalist, bass player. She's great. And I think there's a lot to hope for, a lot to
mhm.
hope. And there's also more women getting recognition. And, so let's talk
Yes.
about Sue Foley, who plays both traditional and, somewhat contemporary kinds of guitar styles and
Hmm.
singing. And she's just smashing it, you know. Um, um, so, Samantha Fish,
Yeah.
again, rock blues. There's rock blues, and she's smashing it. And I saw Samantha Fish when she first came onto the scene. And oops, I'll be right back. Um, she's just a brilliant artist and a wonderful person, you know.
Hmm.
I think there's a lot to hope for, a lot to hope for.
I
Uh,
agree.
so whoever the people are that aren't able to see that or somehow fail to recognize that, I'm just going to ask them to wipe their eyes and refocus.
Yeah.
Take another look,
Yeah. I agree.
the opposite of judgment, by the way, is curiosity.
Hmm.
So maybe can you move a little more towards curious?
Hmm.
Try and move towards curious. Because the music, in my experience, it doesn't care what your age is, what your hair color is, how much money you got or you don't got, or what your skin color is. It doesn't care. The
Hmm.
music doesn't care. Being authentic is what matters, and I believe has always mattered with blues in
I agree.
all of its forms, all of
Hmm.
its branches, you know, soul music, rhythm and blues, all of it, you know.
I agree. I agree. Back to your album, I forgot to ask you one question, and especially for people, and I hope that this interview turns people on to you that don't already know about you. Which song from this album would you point to as a calling card saying, hey, if you like this song, you're really going to love the rest of the album?
Might lack objectivity.
You're allowed that. So,
You know, really, first of all, they're all my favorites or they wouldn't be on the record. Let me just
right.
start there.
Hmm.
I love, love, love the title track, Back for Me,
Hmm.
written by a young man by the name of Casey Hurt. Um, and it's a contemporary blues ballad. Um, that I find especially devastating. It's a song about denial. And when we have lost something and we can't seem to really let it go. And in this case, in the song, in the story, in the snapshot, uh, it's over, babe. There's
Mm-hmm.
no, there's no bring you back. There's no, I ain't coming back. But the lyric is, I know it's over. You don't have to break my heart. Come on. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have to. That's the opening line. You don't have to break my heart. And it's that moment, that rock bottom moment of vulnerability in that story. But I'm still going, you know, but I know you're going to come back for me. You're coming
Mm-hmm.
back, right? It almost feels like I flash on these videos. I see them on social media a lot because I'm pretty into animal stuff. And I mean, I'm talking about like animal rescue kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, um, you drive out into the country and you dump your dog, man.
Mm-hmm.
And then you drive away and that dog is sitting there
Heartbreaking.
for days or
Yeah.
weeks. And
Yeah.
I'm starving on the side of the road over here because I'm sure you're coming back. If I
Yeah.
leave, if I go away too far, I won't hear your car. I won't hear you call for me, so I'm going to stay right here. I'm going to wait for you to come back for me. It's like that kind of a ugh. And it's just heartbreaking, beautiful ballad. I love that
Yeah.
song, but I
Yeah.
love them all. So, if you ask me in 3 minutes, you know, I'll talk to you about I Was Good to You, Baby, or Masterpiece, the one that Joe B's on, or The
Mm-hmm.
Same Love That Made Me Laugh, or Holes, you know,
Holes. Yeah.
the Sue
Yeah.
Foley. They're all my faves.
Yeah. Well, they're all good. I agree. I love them. What's on your radar for the rest of the year? What you got planned?
I have a tour that I leave for on the 15th of March. I don't know when we're going to air here, but March 15th. And then it's East Coast, and then
Hmm.
West Coast, and then East Coast again, and then it's the middle of April.
Wow.
And I'm looking at some Europe stuff for later in the fall,
Hmm.
and that's what I can see right now. The new album is really being really well received, so I'm really
Hmm.
happy about that, you know,
Good.
so I can keep kicking to the curb the glue factory idea.
Please do. Please just keep kicking that because we're about the same age. I don't feel like I'm anywhere near the glue factory yet. Maybe I should be, but I don't feel like it, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a 16-year-old trapped in a 65-year-old body. So that's I forgot to look at your itinerary. Are you going to be coming near the east anywhere in East Tennessee or thereabouts? Do you recall?
The closest I'm coming, I think, is going to be, well, I'll be in New York. I'll be in Philly
Mm,
on the 20th. I'll be upstate New York a lot. I'm going to do Mountain Stage in Rochester. Going to
hmm.
be, Syracuse. I'm just looking at the schedule. That's where my head's down. And then I'm back to the West Coast to do LA area, Northern California stuff, going up to Seattle, and then hooking a hard right and heading back to the East Coast and doing what are we doing? New York City. We're gonna do
Mm,
Cafe One, New York City, and
hmm.
then we're gonna do New Hampshire, um, a little festival in New Hampshire
Hmm.
celebrating women in blues at the Tupelo Music Hall, and
Cool.
then heading home after that.
Wow. Well, hopefully you can get to East Tennessee here sometime so I
Would
can
love
catch
to.
I'd love to come up and hug your neck and have you sign the CD or something for me. I
Absolutely.
would love
Be
that.
happy.
But final question for you: how do all these albums? You're nowhere near the Glue Factory, so we know that. But you know, after the Glue Factory, many years down the road, how do you want to be remembered, and what do you hope your legacy is?
I that's you just hit my heart really hard. I hope the goal is to help someone else. And so much of the gift in my life, the gifts of my life have been speaking my truth through the music.
Hmm.
The job is connection. I understand that. I've understood that for a very long time, that the job is
Hmm.
connection. And the vehicle has largely been the music. And so I hope to have helped some people. That's really
Well,
what I hope for. It makes me,
I yeah, that's what it's about. And I forgot to mention to you that I'm going to order your book because I just I know a little bit about your story, and I mean it has not been an easy life for you, and you know you seem to have your act together despite everything that you've gone through, and I think that's a big story of help to other people if they can become aware of it. So I plan on getting your book. I'd love to get a signed copy of it. I have a collection of autographed books, but I want to read your book sometime. And once I get it, I want to and have read through it. Maybe get you on the phone again, like on one of these, and we'll just talk about that because I think that's the story that needs to be heard by a lot of people. I really do.
thank you, Randy. Yeah, I would love that. I'd love to be able to focus on the book. There's a lot there. It took me 6 years to write it
I bet. I
and a
bet.
lifetime in the making, as I say. This
Yeah.
is dun, dun,
Yep.
dun, dun. That's me. I think I was about five there.
I'll be darned.
And
Wow.
my dad took that picture. He was probably a couple of martinis in, so it's a
Mm.
nice soft focus, you know.
Yeah.
And um, it's all true. I've been told it can be kind of a hard read, the first half of it, because it's not the worst story I've ever heard, certainly. But it is my story,
Yeah.
and there is a point to telling the story because I
Yep.
want other people to understand the difference between fate and destiny,
Yeah.
you see. And I never, it took me a long time to understand that the sharp curves and the rough, bumpy road were not the end of the story. I
Right.
thought it was going to always be like that. I thought it was going to be the end of the story. It's not the end of the story. It doesn't have to be. Now, have I worked very hard? Oh, yeah. Have I had some very incredible good fortune? I have. And I love my life today. I love life today. That wasn't always, I couldn't always say that.
Yeah.
And so the first half's kind of a rough read, but, press on.
Yep. Well, I
Have,
gathered that it would be, and I that's why I want to read it because I know people, I want to be able to recommend it to people because, you know, I think we're both kind of thinking the same thing at this stage in life. It's not so much climbing the ladder as it is helping pull the others up that may be having a hard time with that ladder.
right.
And if we can do that for the rest of our days, I think we're doing pretty good work on this earth. So I'll get that ordered, and we'll have another chat sometime down the road, and
I look forward to
we'll get
that.
that word out. So, well, Janiva, I sure appreciate this time. I've loved again love your work, and look forward to talking to you more for at least a few more years because, neither of us are heading towards that glue factory. So,
Hey, all right. I'll see you on the campus out there, Randy. That's what I'm
yeah,
looking forward.
you bet. You bet.
All right.
Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. You too.
All right, take care. Bye bye. This has been another stellar episode of Boomerocity with your host, producer, and friend, Randy Patterson. The theme music is Roll the Dice by our good friend Quentin Hope, and all rights reserved and used by permission, of course. Post-production is done by Cardinal Sins Productions. The Boomerocity name, logo, and content is copyright protected, so all segments may only be used with written consent by Boomerocity and or its assignees. You should direct your inquiries to input@boomerocity.com, and the copyright is 2025.